Hello everybody, my name is Juan Carlos Castro. I'm a student of Universidad Tec Milenio Campus Querétaro, and I'm going to talk about the Cold War. During World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union fought together as allies against the Axis powers. However, the relationship between them was tense. After the war, there was an overwhelming sense of mutual distrust and enmity. Post-war Soviet expansionism in Eastern Europe fueled many Americans' fears of a Russian plan to control the world. Now I am going to continue with the 10 most significant events of the Cold War. First, the Yalta Conference was in February 4th, 1945. These conferences were the main Allied leaders, Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill, nicknamed the Big Three, agreed on what would happen to Berlin and how it would be shared between the countries. They decided to split Germany into 4 occupied zones. August 14, 1945, end of World War II. March 5, 1946, Winston Churchill gives his Iron Curtain speech, in which he declares that the Russians have cut off Eastern Europe from the Western world and imposed communism on them. June 25, 1950, the Korean War begins. July 27, 1953, Korean War ends. March 13, 1954, the KGB, an intelligence agent for the USSR, is formed. January 8, 1959, Cuba is taken over by Fidel Castro. April 17, 1961, Bay of Pigs. November 9, 1989, Berlin Wall is taken down. Finally, December 31, 1991, the Cold War ends. Now, what is a Cold War? According to the dictionary, a Cold War is a state of political hostility and military tension between two countries or power blocs, involving propaganda, subversion, threats, economic sanctions, and other measures short of open warfare. In other words, it means a war without gunfire. One of the reasons of this war happening between Russia and the US was because they had very different economic systems, capitalism and socialism. So, what is capitalism? Capitalism is a social system based on the principle of individual rights. Politically, it is the system of laissez-faire, which is freedom. Legally, it is a system of objective laws, rule of law as opposed to rule of man. Economically, when such freedom is applied to the sphere of production, its result is the free market. And Adam Smith is considered the founding father of capitalism. On the other hand, economically, socialism is a way of organizing a society in which major industries are owned and controlled by the government, rather than by individual people and companies. And the father of socialism is Karl Marx. Now I am going to interview my grandpa Pablo.
Hello.
About the Cold War. Let's see what he knows. First question. What countries were the world leaders during this period of Cold War?
The USA and the USSR.
Next question. Why did countries who were allies during the wars become enemies afterwards?
They wanted more territory.
I also heard that they have different social systems and economic systems, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, next question. Where did the Cold War take place?
In any place really, because it was more of a political war.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. What opinion did the general public have of the Cold War?
Oh, it was really bad because we thought that in any day World War III could begin, and that scared us.
Yes, I think that should be very scary. World War III, imagine it would be disastrous. What type of weapons did the two world powers have at their disposal?
There were a lot of weapons, but the two biggest ones were nuclear and chemical weapons.
Imagine if they would have used them. It would cause a lot of death.
Of course.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome, grandson.
Goodbye. I think that even though the Cold War wasn't fought with guns, it was a very scary war because Later, after World War II, countries were being armed with better weapons, nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, and if any of those countries decided to use those weapons, it would unleash World War III with much more damaging weapons. So it would be horrible. Now, about capitalism and socialism, I think both systems have their flaws. But socialism is much worse, in my opinion, than capitalism. Socialism states that everything is controlled by the government, and the government will never be on the side of the people, even though they say so. And also, socialism is thought as everybody having the same things. No matter if you worked hard or if you didn't work, everybody has the same thing, and that is not fair in any way.